I warmly welcome you to this awards dinner celebration of 10 years of the Justice for All program. The Justice for All program, which is a state-driven intervention to address the large number of remand prisoners and ultimately to reduce overcrowding in the prisons, owes its success to the many judges, past and present, lawyers, and others who have placed themselves, their experience, and their time at the disposal of the program. The Danish government, through its International Development Agency, DANIDA, and other donor agencies, have also supported the Justice for All program since its inception in 2007. At the time of its inception, about 33% of our total prison population was being kept on remand. The Justice for All program was a welcome and much needed intervention, not only because it brought justice to many who needed it badly, but also because it eased the burden on the regular courts. Of course, even as we take a moment to celebrate this milestone, we are conscious of the fact that there is so much to be done. From 33% at the beginning, we now have some 12% of our prison population that are on remand pending due process. So this evening, even as we reflect and congratulate ourselves, we must rededicate ourselves to the cause. We would like to commend the chairman and members of the Remand Review Task Force, in particular, for their tireless efforts, enthusiasm, and dynamism. To His Lordship Justice Clemens Jackson Honyenuga and his predecessors, we say thank you for a national task well done. Once again, you are all welcome to this evening's ceremony. We hope that this evening renews our passion to achieve the cause that we have set for ourselves. Thank you and have a good evening.
Respectfully, Nana Chairman, Your Excellencies, my presentation is to do a brief overview of 10 years of the Justice for All program. And I shall refer to the Justice for All program in my presentation as JFAP. I first of all refer to Articles 19.2c of the 1992 Constitution, which deals with the innocence of any accused person until he is proved or otherwise pleaded guilty. And I also refer to Article 14.4 of the Constitution, which I believe is the cornerstone of the Justice for All program. Due to time constraints, I think most of us know that I would not want to refer to reading through. Indeed, these provisions in the supreme law of the land have been with us all this while and have been part of our criminal jurisprudence. These provisions enjoins courts to grant bail or refuse bail or discharge persons whenever an accused person was arraigned for trial, and to trial an accused person within a reasonable time because an accused is presumed innocent until the contrary was proved. And I believe these provisions in Articles 19.2c and 14.4 of the 1992 Constitution informed Honorable Joe Gatti, the then Minister of Justice and Attorney General and current Minister of Railways and Development, to initiate the Justice for All program in the year 2009 in order to ameliorate the extreme overcrowding in our prisons. The JFAP was set up special courts in the prisons to review the long and delayed remand cases. This enabled the poor and indigent prisoners to have access to justice at their doorstep. I must state that Honorable Jogate was not alone. He was ably supported by the Judicial Service, headed by the then Chief Justice, and other stakeholders in the criminal justice system. We also remember lawyer Kojo Graham of the Center for Human Rights and Civil Liberties, Chessel, who was a pioneer lawyer who defended the prisons during the court sittings. Indeed, as most of us know, 4 technical working components were created under the JFAP, namely the National Remand Review Working Group, the Sentencing Working Group, Prosecutors Capacity Working Group, and the Systems and Procedure Analysis Working Groups. And my concentration is mostly on the first one, that's the National Review Working Group, which is now transformed into a National Remand Review Task Force, which is constituted by the Judicial Service as the chair, the Attorney General and Ministry of Justice, the Ghana Police Service, the Ghana Prison Service, Legal Aid, and the Commission for Human Rights and Administrative Justice. This task force determined the criteria for the qualification for remand prisoners' cases to be reviewed. At the inception of the JFAP, as we've been told earlier, the total population, prisoner population, was 14,133, out of which 4,885, that is 33%, were pre-trial or remand prisoners. Most of these prisoners had expired warrants. Some of them had been on remand for over 16 years. Nana Chairman, please permit me to respectfully state that the remand population continued to increase, and this led Mr. Seth Kwame Boate of Joy News to come out with his documentary entitled, quote, Locked and Forgotten, unquote. I think most of us have watched that documentary, which showed the pain and suffering and the congestion of our prisons. And unfortunately, during this period, that was 8th to 14th November 2013, the Special Rapporteur from the United Nations Human Rights Council, Mr. Juan E. Mendes, visited Ghana's prisons. And on the 5th of March 2014, he presented his report to the United Nations General Assembly. The Special Prosecutor described in detail the conditions of detention prevailing in the detention facilities, that's the prisons and the police cells in Ghana. Because of time constraint, I would just keep part of the report. It was during this period that the JFAP had to increase its intensity to cover all the prisons in Ghana. Measures were taken, including organization of workshops for judges and magistrates, circuit and district courts, as well as judicial staff and other stakeholders to assist to decongestion the prisons. Indeed, the efforts paid, and I shall later show in the statistics to be provided. In the process, the first remand high court was established at the medium security prison in Sawam with a permanent high court judge to adjudicate on remand cases as well as on convict prisoners. The court was built with assistance from the British High Commission. Recently, another remand high court was built with assistance from Danida. This was commissioned by Her Ladyship the Chief Justice, Ms. Sophia Akufo, at the Kumasi prisons. This court sits on a daily basis so as to decongest the prisons of remand prisoners and enhance the human rights of the prisoners. From 2007 to 2017, 3,746 remand prisoners appeared before the courts which sat in the prisons. Out of the numbers, 746 were discharged. A total of 1,217 were granted bail, and 143 were convicted and sentenced to various fines and imprisonment. It must be noted that some of these remand prisoners were discharged on humanitarian grounds, and some for long periods on remand for minor offenses without trial. Some of these prisoners were also referred to the psychiatric hospitals for treatment. In 2007, the remand population was 33% of the trial prison population in Ghana. But due to the efforts of the JFAP, it's reduced to 12.77% as of January 2018. Some of the achievements of the JFP include the reduction in the overcrowding of the prisons, speedy and fair adjudication of cases, restoration of confidence in the judicial system, both nationally and internationally. To also minimize the risk of transporting the prisoners to and fro in access to justice, as justice was sent to the doorsteps of the prisoners. The JFAP program saved cost of feeding and upheld human rights of the poor and vulnerable. It is noted that Ghana had recently been praised at various international human rights fora for the setting up of the JFAP, which is described as ingenious. It is no wonder that countries like Kenya have sent their officials to study the system in Ghana and have since replicated same into their country. Some weaknesses also of the JFAP include the difficulty of executing bail bonds after the court orders, inadequate human resource and funding, and difficulty in following up on the beneficiaries of the JFAP. Measures like the e-Ghana case tracking system and other measures are also in place to assist in the congestion in the prisons. And may I humbly suggest that funding of the Justice for All program be factored into Ghana's national budget. This would also give meaning to the Ghana Beyond Aid. On this note, may I thank the immediate past and present Chief Justices for their strong support that has led to its continued successes. The judges who have sacrificed everything so much to enable the program succeed. The staff of the Judicial Service, past and present members of the National Remand Review Task Force, the Honorable Attorney General and her officials, all lawyers who defended the prisoners pro bono, the Ghana Police Service, the Ghana Prison Service, and all other stakeholders for their sacrifices. I also wish to thank all our sponsors, past and present, including the UNDP, the British High Commission, Star Ghana, and last but not the least, Danida, for their tremendous assistance over the years. I am therefore, on behalf of the Justice for All program, very grateful for the audience granted, and God bless us all. Thank you.
For the story. Thank you.
Central Prison under the Justice for All program. The
hearing since the incident some 7 years ago, Kwabna is now paralyzed due to tuberculosis he contracted whilst on remand. He depends on fellow inmates to move around. His story is similar to most of the 133 applicants of the Justice for All program at the Kumasi Central Prison. The facility, with an original authorized capacity of 950 inmates, currently has 1,854 inmates. Chairman for the Justice for All program, National Task Force, Justice Clemens Honyanuga, said the program is targeted at giving fair and speedy hearing to accused persons on remand.
It is the wish of the Honorable Lady Chief Justice that all judges and magistrates who have been handling these matters in connection with remand prisoners should endeavor to do so according to law and not remand persons unnecessarily.
The exercise lasted for 2 days with 3 High Court judges hearing varied cases.
The statistics stands as follows. The total number of inmates who have been discharged is 16. And 4 were convicted and they are to serve their sentences. 45 were granted bail. 32 applications for bail or discharge were refused. And 16 applications were struck out for various reasons. And 20 of the numbers were absent. This can be due to the fact that some of the judges, the trial judges, discharged some of them or granted bail to others, and some of them were just completely absent.
A chunk of the cases heard during the sitting were stealing, child theft, abuse and damages related. On the second day of the exercise, most cases were dismissed for the lack of adequate evidence. Some special cases which could not be heard in 2016 due to a rout that occurred were also given attention. The next sitting is at the Tamale Central Prison.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening to you all. It's a privilege and an honor for me to participate in tonight's celebration of 10 years of implementation of the Justice for All program. The Embassy of Denmark is extremely proud to be associated with this program. During the past 27 years, the development cooperation between Ghana and Denmark has covered a wide range of sectors, ranging from water and sanitation, over health to good governance and private sector development. I know that I speak for all my predecessors and for my colleagues when I say that of all this, the Justice for All program has been and still is dearest to our hearts. The objective of this program is to promote speedy and fair trial for remand prisoners across prisons in Ghana, and thus to decongest the prisons. It has brought life and dignity to many citizens who otherwise would have been forgotten in the country's prisons. Good governance and respect for human rights are key pillars of Danish development policy, and Denmark has supported the Judicial Service in Ghana for more than 20 years. We have supported the construction or refurbishment of dozens of court buildings throughout the country. We've provided equipment, computers, automation of court processes, and training of judges and judicial service staff. A substantial number of judicial staff have been trained in the Danita Fellowship Center in Copenhagen, and we have provided funding for the Judicial Training Institute. In addition to this, Denmark has supported alternative dispute resolution and the establishment of gender-based violence courts. We are particularly pleased with the cooperation of the Justice for All program because it's targeting some of the poorest and most vulnerable citizens in the country who find themselves in detention for one reason or another and are unable to afford the legal fees of representation. As we heard, the share of remand prisoners of the total prison population has been reduced from 33% in 2007 to 12% as we speak. This is a major achievement, and every time a man or a woman is walking out of a prison after 5, 7, or even 9 years on remand without seeing a judge, a life is changed and the person's dignity is re-established. The Justice for All program has been a source of hope for many, and if those who have benefited from it were here to testify its relevance, this hall would not be big enough to contain them all. Mr. Chairman, this has not come easy. All stakeholders worked very hard to get this far. I would like to congratulate the Judicial Service of Ghana, the Ghana Police Service, the Ghana Prison Service, the Attorney General's Department, pro bono lawyers, and civil society organizations who contributed in diverse ways to the success of the program. Particular praise goes to the efforts, zeal, and commitment of both the former and the current Chief Justice to ensure reform implementation. Her Ladyship Sophia Akufo and Her Ladyship Georgina Theodora Wood have worked tirelessly to improve justice administration in Ghana. I would also like to mention the POS Foundation, whose highly professional work I have witnessed during my visits to Nsawam and Nakuse prisons. The Justice for All program is a major hallmark in Ghana's justice system, and as we heard, other African countries are studying the program with a view to implementing similar programs. Mr. Chairman, while we are rightfully celebrating the achievements of the Justice for All program, permit me to indicate that the existence of the program also bears witness to the fact that there are structural deficiencies in Ghana's justice system. In fact, it can be argued that the program addresses the symptoms rather than the causes. It is therefore my hope that the government has the political will to launch the necessary reforms to deal with the structural deficiencies in the existing justice system and thereby prevent that more and more convicts are being thrown into the already overloaded prison facilities. Mr. Chairman, I would like to implore the government to consider introducing community service in certain cases instead of custody imprisonment, the use of parole, and to reconsider the penalty for possession of drugs, which appears to be out of proportion with the offenses. Non-custodial sentences would significantly reduce prison congestion. Experience from countries where it is used, including from my own country, Denmark, shows that non-custodial sentences is also significantly reducing the number of prisoners who commit new offenses, the so-called rate of recidivism. Last week, I had the pleasure, together with Her Ladyship, the Chief Justice, to participate in the launch of the consultation process for the draft bill on non-custodial sentences. This laudable initiative has been taken by the POS Foundation, which is working in close collaboration with Judicial Service. It is my hope that the bill, when passed into law, can correct some of the structural deficiencies in Ghana's justice system and further improve the human rights record in Ghana. I wish you all a very pleasant evening. Thank you very much.
We're grateful to you, the Danish Ambassador to Ghana, Your Excellency, Madam Tove Degnbol.
I am pleased to be here tonight to be a part of this celebration, and I thank the organizers for inviting me. As we all know, custodial sentencing is very much a part of our criminal justice system. And so it is that many times we find persons who have not even undergone trial be in custody for interminable periods, sometimes beyond the periods if they had undergone trial and been convicted. There have been plans for many years to find alternatives to custodial sentencing, including non-custodial sentencing. There have been calls for legislation, but the question is, will legislation alone give the necessary solution without the structures in place? And therefore, I'd like to commend my predecessor, Jogati, for having this wonderful dream as a stopgap in solving the problem. Joseph, I'm very grateful to you. May I also thank the many stakeholders who made this work. But as we celebrate 10 years of the project, I believe it is also time to reflect on the challenges. Building blocks may have been put in place that will help to improve on what has been accomplished, which cannot be understated. I, on my part, commit to build on what has been established so that this may become a permanent feature of our justice delivery system, because it has brought not only relief to persons who otherwise should be free, but it has also brought solutions to near epidemic health challenges to inmates. And of course, it needs to be mentioned that it has put some ease on the public purse in supporting inmates that have occupied our prisons, which are bursting at the seams. I congratulate the award winners, and I thank the people who have made this possible. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Ms. Gloria Afua Akufo. The Honorable Minister, Judicial Service has always been to ensure fair, speedy, and easy access to justice for all persons in Ghana. Thus, the Judicial Service has from time immemorial taken pragmatic steps and implemented policies to ensure that the justice system in Ghana becomes one of the best in Africa. One of such steps is the Justice for All program, which began in the year 2007 as a pilot project championed by the Office of the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, headed by the then Attorney General, Mr. Joe Garte. And now he is the Minister of Railways Development. The project sought to decongest prison facilities across the country by setting up mobile in-prison special courts to adjudicate remand cases. And with the full cooperation of my predecessor, Her Ladyship Georgina Theodora Wood, this project started with in a keen manner, and over the years gathered momentum. The operations of the Justice for All program include the re-examination and update of the Criminal and Other Offences Procedure Act 1960, the review of the sentencing guidelines, and the promotion of efficiency and accountability in the justice service delivery sector, particularly in the area of criminal justice. The program has been implemented successfully over the past 10 years, and as has been already made clear by Justice Honyenuga in his brief address, this period of 10 years is worthy of being celebrated today because it's a period of 10 years of fostering access to justice for all persons in Ghana. Thus, through the intervention of the Justice for All program, there has not been only a reduction, but furthermore, a reduction in the remand prisoner population of our prisons, but there has also been a significant clearing of backlog of cases, particularly appeal cases from our various courts. Her Excellency the Danish Ambassador has already mentioned the event that we jointly hosted in Kumasi this Monday, inaugurating the prefabricated High Court in the Kumasi Central Prisons. It's a regular High Court, but it only deals with matters concerning applications and appeals from the inmates. Therefore, it will not be doing civil cases of any sort. And it is intended to facilitate the speedy resolution of applications in remand cases and criminal appeals from the circuit and district courts. This will reduce the time, cost, and risk of transporting prisoners to and from the courts. I have to, at this point, acknowledge one critical input into the Justice for All program, which has assured the success of the program over the years. And this has not been, and this input may not have been given much attention, but it's a critical aspect of the work that the justices do in the course of the program. And this is the work of the facilitators, which is in the nature of paralegal services. Even though the activities of paralegals are not regulated or formalized in Ghana, it is only right that we give due recognition to the invaluable role played by these facilitators from the POS Foundation. They have functioned as de facto paralegals towards the sustenance and growth of the program. They interview the prison inmates and facilitate the drafting of their applications and criminal appeals, so that by the time the Justice for All team arrives at any of the prisons for a session, they will be ready to spend the week doing substantive work rather than now having to plow through unprofessionally drawn up pleadings. So once again, I would be very pleased to acknowledge the POS Foundation. I would like to take this opportunity also to speak a little bit more about paralegal services. An institutionalized and regulated paralegal system will greatly benefit this country in providing access to justice to the indigent in society, particularly in the remote rural communities where lawyers, as we know, are often not very willing to go and operate. Paralegals could be very, very instrumental in assisting the work of lawyers in the lower courts as well. And I strongly believe that it is about time that we began serious discussions on establishing a robust legal mechanism which effectively defines and incorporates the duties of paralegals in our legal system. If we do not do so, you know and I know that even as I speak, there are a lot of paralegal activities going on without the requisite regulation. So we had better now do the right thing. And I believe that with the proper framework, training, and recognition, paralegals will aid justice delivery in Ghana, as has become the case in jurisdictions such as Canada, Malawi, and Nigeria. While commending people who have played invaluable roles towards the sustenance and growth of the Justice for All program, it is also very important to deplore activities of unscrupulous lawyers who take or try to take undue advantage of the program so as to acquire cheap popularity with the media in manners that are totally against the ethics of the legal profession. And while we keenly appreciate the work, the pro bono work offered by so many lawyers, many of whom are present in this room this evening, there are other lawyers who masquerade as pro bono lawyers and end up hijacking their various unsuspecting and I don't even know what word to use, victims of the justice system. And this we cannot continue to allow. Now, apart from access, efforts are being made to improve the quality of criminal justice in this country. There are so many activities, including the ongoing criminal case tracking system, which is now undergoing extensive design and will, in not more than 18 months, come on stream to enable the tracking of cases from the point of complaint through processing, investigation, prosecution, and et cetera, so that nobody will get lost in the system again. In another form, there is also the effort that has been made in introducing non-custodial sentencing. And right now, as my friend, the ambassador for Denmark, has already mentioned, last week we inaugurated the commencement of a regional consultation on additional non-custodial forms of sentencing, so that we will eventually come up as a nation with comprehensive system for non-custodial sentencing, and all the mechanisms and all the systems and structures that will make it work. And I have already counseled the POS Foundation, which is also spearheading this effort, to ensure that they come up with comprehensive proposals. And in any event, when eventually the report of their consultation is sent to the Attorney General's office, the Honorable Attorney General will receive it favorably and set up the processes so that we focus on what needs to be done to make sure that this time our non-custodial sentencing, a non-custodial sentencing system is established, and is established in such a manner as it is guaranteed to be successful. There have been efforts over the years, but this time, let us pray that it will come to fruition. The human rights barometer of every nation is measured by the way it treats its prisoners. With a level of democratic governance and respect for rule of law attained by Ghana, it is imperative that we bring the issue of prisons reforms, prisoner rights, and treatment to the front burner. And these are some of the efforts that are being made so far, Your Excellency, Mr. President. And at this juncture, I wish to express immense gratitude to all stakeholders and to all the people who have brought the program up to this point. And I wish to start off by mentioning in particular my predecessor, Her Ladyship Georgina Theodora Wood, Honorable Jogate, for their efforts in initiating the program in the first place during challenging times. I also wish to commend Justice Jones Doche, Justice Honyenuga, Justice Melly Wood, and all the other judges across the regions of Ghana who have contributed greatly to the success of the program. Everywhere that the program is mounted in any prison across the country, we bring in also the participation of the local high court judges, so that during the sitting, it is actually a high court sitting and with full jurisdiction to do optimal justice. I say a big thank you to all of you for your diligence and integrity. To the state attorneys, the police and prison services officers, as well as the lawyers and staff of POS Foundation, I salute all of you for your outstanding commitment to this program. Now, I wish to express great appreciation on behalf of the nation as a whole to all donor agencies which have over the years supported the program since its inception. But particular and special mention and commendation goes to Danida for its support, not only to the program, but for its support in other projects and policy reforms in the justice sector. As Danida winds up its support program, I fervently trust, Mr. President, that the state will take up the reins and make the requisite budgetary allocations readily available so that, as Justice Honyenuga mentioned, in the era of Ghana Beyond Aid, we take this program to its max with internally generated funding for the activities of the Justice for All program. Upon that note, Your Excellencies, Nananum Nime Name, distinguished guests, thank you all very much for your attention. And God bless our homeland, Ghana. Good evening, and enjoy the rest of the evening.
So last week, I was told that Ghana had only 3 problems apart from the crowd.
Desire to be liberated because we know we are entitled to be free. Unquote. Our forebears were determined to offer to every citizen the freedom to pursue their dreams and also to protect them from mistreatment by fellow citizens or the state itself. Our traditional states, too, had rich histories founded on the principle that all subjects deserved a fair hearing and that all were equal before the law. Over the years, our commitment to this ideal has been tested. There have been dark days when our nation was unable to extend due process to all, and the basic right of freedom was taken from citizens. In spite of those regrettable days, we are today experiencing the longest uninterrupted period of stable constitutional governance in our history, banishing the specter of instability that disfigured the early years of our nation's existence. The Fourth Republic has made it possible for democracy, equality of opportunity, respect for human rights, access to justice, ideals which have stood the test of time, to find firm anchor in our body politic. If we are to achieve our aims of economic advancement and social progress, then we must all have equal access to the institutions of justice and the benefit of speedy, efficient, and fair resolution of disputes by judicial processes. I agree with the 35th President of the United States of America, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, who said, and I quote, "The rights of every man are diminished when the rights of one man are threatened," unquote. We cannot be a nation where some are under the shed of freedom and justice, while others are rid of its protective shade. That is why I commend heartily the initiators and sustainers of the Justice for All program, which has seen a significant number of our citizens held on remand receive the benefit of a hearing and a resolution of their cases. Since its inception in September 2007, the program has steadily seen to the reduction of the remand population from 33% of the prison population to under 13% as of January 2018. Tonight, it is my privilege to join you to celebrate 10 years of the Justice for All program. Dedication to the cause of human rights and the concept of equality before the law have been inspiring themes of my life, and I'm delighted to recognize the success of the program and to acknowledge the contribution of the various stakeholders that have worked towards this. I'd like to extend the appreciation of a grateful nation to the Honorable Joe Gatti, Member of Parliament for Sikado, current Minister for Railways Development and former Attorney General, for initiating the program in 2007. Georgina Theodora Wood, the former Chief Justice, the 12th occupant of that office, for sustaining it by placing it directly under the office of the Chief Justice. And the current Chief Justice, Sophia Akufo, for intensifying its operations and guiding the introduction of the first draft of the non-custodial sentencing policy bill. I thank also the chairperson, Justice C.J. Honyenuga, Justice of the Court of Appeal, for his coordination of the program. Commend the National Remand Review Task Force, which is made up of the Judicial Service, the Office of the Attorney General, the Ghana Police, the Ghana Prisons, Legal Aid, and the POS Foundation, led by Jonathan Osewusu, for its efforts to resolve the dilemma between crime control and due process, and for the effective collaboration between civil society and government on this thorny issue. We're indebted to past and present Inspector Generals of Police, Director Generals of Prisons, Directors of Public Prosecutions, judges, state attorneys, pro bono lawyers, the media, and other stakeholders for helping reduce the remand prisoner population. It is through their efforts that Zoro Kuta, after spending 20 years on remand in Ankafo prison, Rashida Halidu, a mother who gave birth to a baby boy in Kumasi prison, and Ya Inkum, who spent 6 months in Winneba prison on a charge of threat of death resulting from his failure to pay 1 CD for Akweteshi, were able to rejoin society. Ghana is again by the program showing leadership on the continent. Indeed, some officials of sister African countries have traveled here to understudy the program with a view to its implementation back home. In November 2017, at the United Nations Universal Periodic Review of Ghana in Geneva, our nation was commended for its operation. As one author put it, and I quote, "There is no greater threat to a free and democratic nation than a government that fails to protect its citizens' freedom and liberty as aggressively as it pursues justice," unquote. Government is determined to promote the rights of all Ghanaians in the spirit of the Constitution and to work tirelessly to address the legislative and policy loopholes in the justice delivery system, ultimately to move Ghana to her desired standing, i.e., a Ghana beyond aid. I appeal to the general public to support this program. Each one of us can be exposed to injustice, and we must therefore ensure that none of us is denied speedy access to justice. The survival of this program is not for the benefit of those who are being held in prison today, but for all Ghanaians. Let me conclude by conveying the gratitude of the Ghanaian people to all who have been involved in this critical process, and to our award winners. We say thank you, and I have no doubt that history will be kind to you. We should all be committed to working and building a united Ghana, governed according to the rule of law, respect for individual liberties, human rights, and the principles of democratic accountability. It is a collective enterprise which should engage all our energies and talents as we seek to establish a Ghanaian civilization, the equal of any on the face of the earth. May God bless us all in our homeland, Ghana, and make her great and strong. I thank you for your attention.
Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo Addo, President of the Republic. Bon appetit, enjoy your meals, ladies and gentlemen. Congratulations to you. We're so proud of you. Now let's recognize together. Let's hear that for Sunyane, Ashanti, and Northern Regional Ambassador.
Come forward for their award, and also the British High Commission. Thank you very much. DC, following him, Chief Superintendent Nathaniel Onyina. Thank you. And last and not the least, from prison. Thank you. Justice S.A. Bro. DSP Solomon Corley. Thank you very much. I remember you. Dr. Isidore Tufuo. Following him is Dr. Kweku Ajiman Budu. Mr. Sami Rashid, please step forward. Ayibonte, get yourself ready if you're in the house. Please step forward to be recognized. Mrs. Mavis Ando. That's Mrs. Mavis Ando of the Shiraj. Last and not the least, Madam, step forward to be recognized. Mr. Na is the Director of Monitoring and Evaluation at the Judicial Service. Last and not the least from the Judicial Service is Mr. Frank Roby, who is a registrar. Mr. Roby. Attorney General's Department follows next. From the Attorney General's Department, we would like to state attorney. What a wonderful thing to be acknowledged in retirement. Ms. Glenogo is the Chief State Attorney, Western Region. Finally, thank you very much.
Justice Society, we say congratulations for all the great work that you've done. We would like to acknowledge with gratitude the immense contribution of retired Justice of the Supreme Court. Yours has been a job well done for Ghana and the judiciary. Ladies and gentlemen, it is yours for the applause. Aging gracefully. We say great congratulations to you, Your Lordship. We now move to serving. We're so proud of you. Great work you've done. We recognize the contribution of the Justice of the High Court. Tonight we celebrate, and wherever he is, please extend to him our delight and warmest felicitations. He was the first judge of this program and of the first courts. And we say congratulations to you, ma'am. Congratulations to you and many. I you certainly do recall her passion and masterful delivery. We say congratulations to you, Barbara Abenakuma, GTD. We now move to our paralegals, Solomon Akuman. We thank you ever so much, Solomon, for all your efforts. Tonight, let's celebrate. Thank you for your sacrifice and your labor of love. The next set of gentlemen I'm about best lawyers to defend and represent the inmates under this Justice for All program. Mr. Isaac Addo. And the last, ladies and gentlemen, we shall now proceed through the years. It has paid off. A Director of Reforms and Projects, Judicial Service, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Joseph Ampong Fusu. Bruce Jenner became Getting Jenner, so it's in order. Congratulations.
Long service and hard work. She's followed by Mrs. Yvonne Atakra Obobisa, who is the current Director of Public Health. Ghana's DPP, Mrs. Yvonne Atakra Obobisa. Justice Jones Duche. In charge of the Justice for All program and the Justice of the Court of Appeal of Ghana, Justice Owirenkyi. Thank you very much, my Lady Chief Justice. Facilitator of the Justice for All program, the tireless, indefatigable, irrepressible Mr. Jonathan This round of applause is well deserved. That he flew behind this program and for lending his counsel and advice throughout the years to sustain it. The Honorable Joe Gatti. A round of applause for him. In Ghana, and a member of the Council of State, we award her for sustaining this program over the years. When it fell under her stewardship, she also threw her weight behind it and ensured that the program succeeded. Thank you very much.
And now, Ghana Chairman, Mr. President, with your permission, behold the tireless advocates of justice for all the great work culminating in this grand celebration, Justice for All program. And so to this end, it is befitting that we invoke the blessings of God Almighty.